Amanda stopped asking when he was going to tell his wife. After 3 years of being the special friend, she simply stopped. Stopped believing in promises, waiting for free weekends, hiding behind casual meetings. And it was only when her phone went silent that he realized she had grown tired of being a secret. But was it too late for him to choose? Or for her to choose herself? How do we realize we lost someone when we never had the courage to admit what we felt? First, tell us in the comments. Have you ever been someone's secret? We want to hear from you who watch us. Now, let's discover this story. Amanda always knew he was married. Since the first coffee, since the first conversation that extended late into the night, since the first kiss in the office parking lot. David never lied about it. But he also never talked about it as a real obstacle. It was as if marriage were just a bureaucratic detail, something he still needs to resolve. Amanda was 29 when she met David at the consulting firm where she had just started. He was a partner, 15 years older, intelligent, successful. He had that way of looking at her, as if she were the most interesting person in the room. And after 2 failed relationships with men her age who treated her like an option, his attention felt like a gift. David said the marriage had been over for years, that they lived like roommates, that she, the wife, didn't even notice anymore when he came home late. It's a matter of time, he always said. I just need to organize some things first. How do we distinguish between a real promise and a well-crafted excuse? In the beginning, Amanda believed. It was easy to believe when he cancelled meetings to have lunch with her. When he sent messages in the middle of the night, saying he couldn't sleep thinking about her. When he treated her as if she were the most important woman in the world, at least for a few hours. They met 2, sometimes 3 times a week, always in discreet places. Restaurants on the other side of town, where no one knew them. Hotels with parking in the back, where she could enter through the rear door. Her place on weekends when he could come up with an excuse. Golf with friends, extra work, business trips that didn't exist. David was attentive, romantic within the invisible limits that surrounded them. He brought flowers she couldn't put in a vase. They always died in his car before reaching home. He gave gifts she kept in secret drawers. Jewelry she could never wear in public. Perfume she only sprayed when she knew no one would notice. He planned weekend getaways that always needed to be cancelled at the last minute. Something came up at home, he would say. And Amanda understood. She always understood. Amanda adapted to that life in slices. She learned to be happy with the pieces he could give. She learned not to make plans too far in advance, not to expect holidays, to divide her life in 2. The visible part, where she was alone, and the invisible part, where he existed. As if love was something to be lived only in the cracks. Was she living a love or just getting used to leftovers? For almost 2 years, Amanda managed to pretend that was enough. Until it started to hurt. It hurt to spend Christmas alone while he was with the family. It hurt to see photos of his birthday party on his Instagram. Wide smiles, champagne toast, intertwined fingers. It hurt when friends asked why she never introduced anyone, why she was always available, why she seemed to be hiding something. She started inventing increasingly elaborate excuses. I'm focused on my career. I'm not looking for anything serious. Men my age are too immature. It was easier to lie to others than to admit to herself that she was in love with a man who loved her only in the intervals of his life. Amanda started behaving like a girlfriend without having a girlfriend's rights. She remembered his important commitments, children's birthdays, decisive meetings, medical appointments he mentioned in passing. She knew the names of colleagues, bosses, even the family dog's veterinarian. She knew when he was stressed at work before he even talked about it. She could tell by how he typed messages, shorter, drier. She took care of him when he was sick, always away from home, always in secret. She brought soups in disposable containers, over-the-counter medicines, stayed with him in hotels when the flu was too strong for him to pretend he was fine at home. She organized surprises he couldn't accept, special dinners she cooked and ate alone, because he couldn't get away. Birthday gifts that stayed stored because he couldn't explain where they came from. She planned futures he couldn't promise, trips they would never take, restaurants they would never visit together, dreams she nurtured alone. Amanda had become a specialist at loving in intervals, at existing only when convenient, at being important but never essential, at caring for someone who had an entire life she wasn't part of. And the most painful part, she did all this as if it were natural, as if love was just that, caring for someone who can't care for you back. Why do we become indispensable to those who treat us as dispensable? And David liked that dynamic. Amanda was always available when he needed her, never demanding, never making scenes. It was the perfect relationship. No complications, no obligations, no consequences. He could have the stability of family and passion with her. The best of both worlds, without having to choose either. But for Amanda, that was the only world she knew. And with each passing month, she felt lonelier inside that half-love. She started noticing things she had ignored before. How he never introduced her to anyone. How he kept his phone face down when he was with her. How he left quickly after sex, always with a ready excuse. How he talked about the future always in singular. I'm going to do this. I'm going to travel there. Never we. Amanda realized she had become an expert at not existing publicly. She was invisible on his social media, in social circles, in long-term plans. She existed only in intervals, in secrets, in stolen moments. How do we realize we became accomplices to our own invisibility? The turning point came on an ordinary Tuesday. Amanda had gotten a promotion at work, something she had fought for months to achieve. It was a management position, with a significant raise, bigger responsibilities, something she had dreamed of since joining the company. She was radiant when she left the meeting, her hands still trembling with nervousness and joy. She wanted to celebrate, share the joy with someone who truly cared. She wanted to hear "I'm proud of you" from a voice that knew her fears, her insecurities, her sleepless nights studying to get there. She called David as soon as she got to her desk, her heart still racing. "I got the promotion. Finally, I'm so happy. I can't believe I did it." His voice came from the other end of the line, somewhat distracted, as if he were doing other things at the same time. "Oh, that's good. Congratulations." She noticed the automatic tone, but insisted. "David, you don't understand. It's the promotion I wanted so much, remember? I told you about it." Yes, of course. "Congratulations. Really, I'm proud." But before she could respond, he continued. "Look, I can't talk much right now, because I'm going to pick up my daughter from school. We'll talk properly later, okay? I have to run." And he hung up. Amanda stood in the office hallway, looking at the silent phone. Around her, colleagues were celebrating other achievements, hugging each other, planning happy hours. She put her phone in her purse and went home, alone. She celebrated the most important promotion of her career with a glass of wine and the deafening silence of an empty house. How many victories do we celebrate alone before realizing we're living an entire life alone? It was that night that Amanda understood. It wasn't just about him not being able to be present. It was about her having gotten used to not being a priority, to celebrating achievements in secret, living important moments without witness, accepting that her happiness would always come second. She looked around the apartment, full of hidden gifts, photos she couldn't show, memories she couldn't share. It was like living an entire life in the closet. Amanda started asking herself questions she had avoided for 3 years. What did she really want? A man who would truly choose her, or one who would keep her as a secret forever? A love that needed to be hidden, or one that could be celebrated? Did she want to build something real, or spend her entire life waiting for him to organize things? That night, for the first time in years, Amanda didn't send David a goodnight message. Could she say goodbye to the love that made her feel even lonelier? If you've also been someone's secret, if you've waited to be truly chosen, subscribe to the channel for more stories of women who learn not to accept crumbs. Leave your like before we continue. David didn't notice immediately. He was used to the pattern. Amanda always available, always understanding, always there when he needed her. He went a few days without sending messages, expecting her to make contact as she always did. When he realized she hadn't sent even a good morning, he found it strange. He sent a casual message. Missing. Everything okay? Amanda saw the message but didn't respond right away. For the first time, she didn't feel that urgency to respond immediately. She left the phone aside and went to do other things. She organized drawers, read a book, called a friend. When she finally responded, hours later, it was just a dry, "Everything's fine. And you?" David found the tone strange but didn't say anything. In the following days, Amanda started creating a new rhythm. She no longer sent spontaneous messages, didn't ask how his day had been, didn't offer to help when he complained about work. She started going out with friends on days she used to reserve for him. She accepted invitations she used to decline. How do we recognize our own worth when we stop begging for attention? Amanda started noticing things she had ignored. How light she felt when she wasn't waiting for his messages. How much better she slept when she didn't have to worry about whether he would manage to escape to see her. How good it was to make plans without having to check if he would be available. For the first time in years, her schedule didn't revolve around his free time slots. And it was liberating. David started to perceive the difference. Amanda was less available, less anxious to see him. When they met, she seemed distant, as if she were there in body, but not in mind. He tried to be more attentive, sent more messages, suggested more frequent meetings, but Amanda didn't respond with her former enthusiasm. She was polite, even affectionate, but there was something different, a kind of detachment he couldn't identify. David started doing things he had never done before. He called for no specific reason, just to hear her voice. He sent flowers to her work, risking being discovered, something he had always avoided. He cancelled meetings to see her, something that would have been unthinkable before. He even suggested an entire weekend together, in another city, when no one would know them. "I can say it's work," he said, with a poorly disguised desperation in his voice. But Amanda just smiled lightly and said she had other plans. Other plans? She had never had other plans before. One night, after sex, he asked, "You've been strange lately. Did something happen? Someone else?" The possibility of her being with another person terrified him in a way he didn't expect. Amanda looked at him for a long moment, studying his face as if seeing him for the first time. "Nothing happened," she said with a calmness that scared him more than any scream. "Maybe I just woke up." And it was then that David felt, for the first time in 3 years, real fear. The fear of losing something he had always taken for granted. As if he suddenly discovered that the ground beneath his feet was never as solid as he thought. Does waking up sometimes hurt more than staying asleep? It was then that David started to feel fear. The fear of losing something he had always taken for granted. He started making more specific promises. "Next year the situation will be different. I just need to wait for the kids to grow up a little more. She already suspects. It's a matter of time." But Amanda listened to him with new eyes, like someone hearing a song they know by heart, and realizing they never really liked the melody. She didn't argue, didn't pressure. She just listened and nodded. One night, 3 months after she had started pulling away, Amanda made the final decision. It wasn't a dramatic moment. There was no fight, ultimatum, or crying. She simply looked at David sleeping beside her, as she had done hundreds of times, and knew that would be the last time. He slept on his stomach, with a relaxed face, without the constant tension of someone living two lives. For a moment she almost felt sorry. Almost. The next day, while he showered, she packed his things in a small bag. An extra toothbrush, the shirt he kept for emergencies, the phone charger, 2 books he never read, a bottle of men's cologne she had bought for him to use only there. There weren't many things. 3 years of relationship fit in a grocery bag. When he came out of the bathroom, still with a towel around his waist, wet hair and satisfied smile, Amanda was sitting on the edge of the bed. She had the serene expression of someone who had made a difficult but necessary decision. The bag was on the floor beside her feet. "David," she said with a calm voice, without trembling, without hesitating, "I need you to leave." He stopped drying his hair, towel still in his hands, not understanding. "What do you mean? What's wrong? Are you mad about yesterday?" "I don't want this anymore," Amanda replied, pointing to the space between them, to the bed, to the entire situation. "I don't want to be your secret anymore. I don't want to celebrate alone, plan alone, live alone while pretending I have someone." Her voice was firm, but there was no anger, just a mature sadness, from someone who understood that some doors need to be closed for others to open. How do we find courage to end what never officially began? David tried to argue. He said she was being hasty, that he really was going to resolve the situation, that he just needed more time. But Amanda shook her head. 3 years was enough time for me to understand that you're not going to leave your life for me. And that's okay. I just won't leave my life for you anymore. She stood up, handed him the bag. "I don't hate you, David, but I love myself too much to keep being invisible." He left without knowing what to say, and Amanda locked the door behind him, not with anger, but with relief. Is freedom sometimes the taste of chosen solitude? In the following weeks, David tried to come back. He sent flowers, long messages, asked to talk just once. He said he was really considering separation, that he had realized how much she meant to him. But Amanda didn't give in. Each attempt from him only confirmed what she already knew. He only wanted her when he couldn't have her. He only valued when he lost. She had learned the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. And for the first time in years, she was alone by choice, not because she was being treated as a second option. How do we discover that the best company is sometimes ourselves? Months later, Amanda ran into David at a work event. He was with his wife, smiling, holding hands, wearing his wedding ring, exactly as he was 3 years before when they met. When their eyes met, he looked away. Amanda smiled lightly and continued talking with colleagues. She didn't feel anger or sadness, just the certainty that she had made the right choice. Amanda went back to making plans that didn't depend on anyone. She traveled to places she had always wanted to know. She accepted promotions without having to negotiate schedules with secrets. She dated men who introduced her to friends, who posted photos with her, who included her in future plans. She learned that real love doesn't ask to be hidden, and that when someone wants to be with you, they don't make excuses, they make opportunities. David never got divorced. He's still married, probably with other special friends who accept crumbs thinking they're banquets. But Amanda doesn't think about him anymore, not because she forgot him, but because she remembered who she was before accepting to be invisible. And that woman, the one who celebrates victories out loud, who takes up space without apologizing, who loves without hiding, that woman will never again accept being anyone's secret. If you recognized yourself in Amanda, if you've also been someone's secret, tell us in the comments. Your story could help someone else choose themselves.